Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Mind-Boggling Concepts in the Torah. Remember, put down every sharp object and don't get too close to the camera. We don't want to spread any of those diseases. So tonight we're starting a new Sefer, BAMIDBAR, new book, new Sefer, new Parsha, new book, BAMIDBAR. And we're also getting ready for Shavuos. A lot's going on. So the Chazal say, I've got a number of points. If you have any questions, please stop me at any point. So Chazal say that the Torah was given in three ways, through three means: fire, water, and midbar, the desert. So that means that if you want to acquire the Torah, you need to recreate those three techniques. There's a midrash. It's an amazing midrash, mind-boggling stuff. It says like this: it's better to not learn at all than it is to learn and forget.
It's better not to learn at all than it is to learn and forget. Rabbi, you're making me depressed with this saying.
Most of the questions it made me.
What does that mean exactly? Because maybe I'm certain that I'm understanding it incorrectly. I'm certain.
100%. In fact, the midrash expects that you're going to not understand it, so it gives an example.
Okay.
Because that doesn't make any sense. We don't have another mitzvah that it's better not to do it than to do it wrong. In other words, it's Sukkot, and you don't have an esrog. So you're passing your local grocery store, and you see an lemon. You go, wow, this looks just like an esrog. Right? Can you use it instead of an esrog?
No.
I don't know, actually. We probably would ask the boys. They have more intelligence on the halacha.
The husband's right. No, you can't use it instead of an esrog.
Okay.
But if we did, what would happen?
Nothing.
Nothing. As long as you didn't say a blocker on it, you're good. Right? It's not worse than doing nothing. It's not better than doing nothing. It's nothing.
It's a equal sum game.
It's an equal sum game, zero sum game. You didn't gain any. Excuse me. You didn't gain anything. Right? You tie rubber bands on your four corners of the garment. It's an assistance. I mean, you failed to doing a mitzvah asay of putting sisters on a four corner garment, but it doesn't do anything to put rubber bands on a corner garment. Right?
Right.
You want to keep Shabbat on Wednesday. As long as you keep Shabbat on Shabbat, you're okay. But if you want to keep Shabbat also on Wednesday, you didn't do anything. As long as you don't say Kiddush.
So as long as you don't make brachas levatala for no reason,
Yeah.
then you're okay, you're saying.
Right. But the Torah, the midrash says that it's better you didn't learn at all than you learn and forget. I didn't write the midrash, but if I had written the midrash, I would have written, it's definitely better to remember and forget. And it's better to learn even if you forget. Why?
Right.
Why? Because you won't forget everything. Because if you learn 100 pieces of Torah and you forget 99, well, you've at least got one. It's better than nothing.
And also, besides which, the neural pathways were created the first time you learned it. And if you learn it again, eventually it'll hopefully, please God, stick.
Right, exactly. So, but the midrash says not like that. Better off you didn't learn.
But why is that? Well, what does that really mean? Because it doesn't seem to make sense. It seems very anti-Torah, anti-Jewish perspective.
Exactly. I'm going to tear out that page of the midrash.
No, but there's something we must be missing here, because I've never heard this said in this way. I've always heard the exact opposite. You're better off learning even if you don't remember it.
Exactly. Right. So the midrash comes along and explains it. In other words, the midrash is not telling you to not try, because you won't know if you forget until you forget. right?
Oh, so is it saying to you that if you're going to learn, you might as well put in the effort so that when you forget, you relearn it again so that you remember it?
I don't understand what that means. Sorry.
In other words, like, okay, so if you're going to learn something, you might as well put 100% in. So if you know you're going to forget it, figure out what it would take for you to remember. So in other words, if it takes you 10 times to repeat something, then repeat it 10 times. Otherwise, why are you bothering? Is it like forcing you to like be serious about learning?
It is forcing you to be serious about learning, but what it's really doing is forcing you to ask the question, what does learning really mean?
Bingo. It always comes down to the definition. I should have known that one.
Very good.
You think after learning with you for like 15 years.
That's what I've asked, right? The first of the 48 ways is having a definition. So a billion a billion Christians read the Bible, right?
Old Testament or New Testament? I'm trying to be non-PC here.
No, they read the Torah, they read the Bible, they read the Chumash, they read it.
Okay.
So there's a one extreme, you've got Christians reading the Bible, and another extreme. Not long ago, it was a while ago, actually. And then an elevator, the guy sees I'm wearing a kippah, and he, for some reason he felt he needed to share. He says, "I read Mishlei, Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, every month." I was kind of a little taken aback. I didn't know what to say to him, but he obviously doesn't learn it.
Right, he's just reading it. He just told you exactly what he does. He reads it. He doesn't learn it.
So what's the gap between reading it and learning it?
Learning it is you're going into the perspective of I want to understand and use.
That's very nice. So the Midrash says, learning it. If you're learning it, the experience of learning it is that if you forget it, you're better off you didn't learn it in the first place.
So if we're using my definition, right? Let's say we're using my definition of what learning means. Learning is you're learning it in order to be able to use it, in order to be able to understand it and to use it. So let's say it's Shabbos. If you're learning about the halachot of Shabbos so that you understand the deeper meanings behind it, and then also to use whatever you learn about Shabbos, then you actually, it actually has meaning to you and you implement it. So how could you forget it if you're learning it in that way?
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. But if you did forget it, it'd be worse. So the Midrash explains. So it says like this: it's like a king that has two servants, and he commands them to make for him a really nice garden. He's got a nice backyard, 400 acres on the palace property. And he says, "Listen, it's just a plain field. I want to make it into a really nice garden, trees and bushes and roses and everything, right? If I made maybe a little maze, right? So one goes out and he finds a nice tree, lies down, eats his lunch, and goes to sleep. The other one, he busies himself with the job at hand. He plants trees and red hedges and maize and fruits and everything beautiful and stunning. And then when he's all finished, he takes an axe and he chops it all down.
Oy vey, kill him now.
Now in effect, they both did exactly the same.
Not really.
Oh, why not?
No, the guy who just did nothing, who slacked off and he fell asleep, he didn't actually accomplish anything. But the one who accomplished anything and who accomplished quite a bit and then destroyed it, he built something beautiful and then he destroyed it. That's terrible. That's worse.
So that's what the Talmud says. That's what it means to learn and forget.
But you're not defining learning still, though.
I am. Don't worry, it took me a long time to figure it out too.
So if we're using the example of the gardener is the person that actually makes use of his time and actually builds. So you're saying that whatever you learn, you need to build on it. You need to implement it. You need to make something beautiful of it.
That's true. That's very good. But you see, what it's telling you is that if you could easily forget it, you didn't learn it in the first place.
Right.
Forgetting is akin to chopping down an orchard, a garden.
Really? Like how is that possible? Because if you learned something and it was so easy for you to forget it, it's because it never sunk in. You never really tilled the soil. You never really created a pit to put the flowers in or the hedges or whatever the case might be.
Exactly.
You did not put that much effort into it.
That's right. So then you never learned it in the first place.
Right. So it's not an exact quote then.
No, it is. You see, let's say, for instance, we open up a book of something you learned 5 years ago.
Okay.
Right, Yafar?
Okay.
And I go, we learned this 5 years ago. Right? Do you feel confident to give a class on it? Now, 5 years ago, you might have felt confident. I'm not talking about you, about the average person. Right? When was the last time you went swimming?
It's been a while. Last year?
Last year. If we go to a pool, do you feel confident to get to dive in?
As much as I was able to last time, yeah.
How do you know you didn't forget how to swim?
Because I practiced it quite a bit.
And so it's been over a year. It could be 5 years. Could be 10 years since you got on a bicycle. You feel confident getting on a bicycle again?
Bicycle, yes. Swimming, I always have to overcome that first couple, 10 minutes of I could drown.
Okay, that's the nervousness. But nevertheless, like riding a bicycle, once you learn how to ride a bicycle, you don't have to practice. You got it.
Right, but bicycle is so simple in comparison to Torah or even swimming.
I don't know if it's simple. It's quite sophisticated, actually. You're balancing two wheels and all the other components that goes into the gyroscopic motion, the balancing. It's no small thing. It's just
I think once you've mastered balancing, it's not such a difficult thing.
Once you've mastered it.
Yeah, but you mastered it. You master it. The thing is, when you're a kid and you want so much to ride a bicycle, you do it so often that you master it, and now it's part of your muscle memory for your body.
Now, can you forget how to ride a bicycle?
Probably if a person had amnesia.
Oh, I have a friend, Rabbi Chaim Samson. So he told me the story about his father who had a stroke and had amnesia.
Uh-huh.
So he was helping his father put his shoes on, and he was tying the laces. And his father said to him, "Who taught you how to tie shoes?" And he said, "You did."
Yeah, that must have been a shock.
Yeah, it was very sad. He told me about it. Right? How easy is it to forget how to tie shoes?
As easy as God wants to make it.
Well, how easy is it to forget how to tie shoes?
Well, if a person can have a stroke and forget how to tie shoes, it's very easy to forget.
Outside of a stroke, if you want to forget how to tie shoes, you're going to have to really work at it.
Right. I see what you're saying.
It's like chopping down a tree.
Yes.
Instead, somebody who forgets what they learn, like that, you understand? Like that, right? He's in a really bad state. He's got some serious problems in his life. There are people like that they want to forget what they learned. There are people like that. What do
you mean by that? Like, why would you want to forget what you learned? I feel sad for everything that I've forgotten. I'm like, oh my gosh, I knew this once upon a time. Even like parenting things, I'm like, how did I forget positive reinforcement? Avoid the negative stuff. Pretend you don't see it. When did I forget this? What's wrong with me?
No, you didn't forget it because you never learned in the first place.
I think I did learn it, but I have like problems with my mind now. And so I feel like an amnesiac.
You can't forget how to ride a bicycle. You can't forget how to swim. The Talmud says there are 3 things you have to teach your children: Torah, a trade, and swim. What do they all have in common? These are 3 things that once you learn how to do it, you can't forget. You have to go out of your way to undo. It would be like destroying a garden.
Mm.
So we understand a trade. We understand swimming is like that. We understand bicycle riding like that. We understand shoelaces is like that. But we don't understand Torah is like that. Because with Torah, there's a range. You could read Torah and it looks like for everybody watching, you're learning it. But you're not learning. You're just reading it.
Right.
Is that to learn Torah has to be the same way like you swim. You're learning how to swim. You don't
I
forget how
think it's more complicated. Let's be honest. Learning to ride a bicycle or learning to swim is not as complicated as Torah. It did not take me 15 years to learn that I always need to make sure I understand definitions. And I still don't get that. But it probably took me a year maximum to learn to ride a bike, a few years to learn to swim. And that's not as complicated as Torah. Torah is super complicated.
it's not super complicated. You're talking about the whole concept of Torah. But everything you learn, every pasuk you learn has is simple. That Mishlei says that the fool, his eyes are the ends of the earth.
His eyes are at the ends of the earth. In other words, he's always looking ahead when he's not paying attention to now.
So Rashi comes along and explains that a fool, he wants to learn, let's say he wants to learn Gemara. So he looks at all the Shas, 60 volumes. This is crazy. I'm never going to be able to do it. His eyes are the ends of the earth. He sees the ends. He says the wise person, what does he see? It's 60 volumes long. That's true. But today there's only 1 page. And I don't even have to learn the whole thing. But just do every day a few lines, slowly, I'll build up and I'll conquer it.
Yeah, but one of the rabbis, maybe I shouldn't mention who, he says that it's all very nice that people do Daf Yomi, but they don't really understand what they're learning. But it's very nice. They're all doing Daf Yomi, and in 7.5 years, they complete the whole of Shas, but they have no clue what they read, and they don't remember it.
It's not a question of knowing what they read, and it's not a question of remembering what they read. It's a question of learning what they read.
Okay, if they don't remember and they really don't understand what they read, how could they possibly have learned what they read?
You see, Rabbi Akiva in his day was not the greatest rabbi in the world. There were people greater than him.
Really? Like who?
Rabbi Horkanus, his Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkanus. There were the Rambam mentions this. He was not the greatest rabbi, but he was not only the one that thousands of people flocked to Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi was also there. He was not only the one that everyone flocked to, but his students are the people that we have Torah from.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way that most of the Gedolim that we have shaped the 21st century's Torah all come out of the Netziv. And for sure the Vilna Gaon. Vilna Gaon wasn't the only rabbi in the world at his day, neither was the Netziv. So there was something they were teaching that nailed it, right? And no one else got it.
I feel like you've taught us this lesson about Rabbi Akiva, but I can't remember what it is.
I taught it, but you didn't learn it.
I didn't learn it.
Teach it in a way that it was that was learning. That's the problem, right? In other words, you see, right? So Rabbi Akiva comes back after 24 years, and he's got 24,000 students with him.
Uh-huh.
Nobody else has got this. It's not like and this other guy, he had 30,000 or 40,000.
But I don't like, based on what I know, maybe I'm incorrect in this understanding, but based on what I know, I don't think anybody besides Rabbi Akiva actually wanted to disseminate Torah to such an amount. Like, if I remember correctly, when Rabban Gamliel was in charge, only certain people were allowed into the base medrash. And then
that was the base
right, and then when Rabbi Azariah ben
Rabbi Azariah came along. Right, they threw out the Rabbi Yochanan. They what's the word? Not abdicated. They
I thought they removed Rabban Gamliel from the position of Nasi, so that because of whatever had happened, and then Rabbi Azariah opened up the base medrash, and then brought all these benches for people to come and sit and learn. Right.
But that's a different time. But that's something different. That was in the yeshiva. This is a whole different game.
But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that the perspective they had on Torah was only the, let's say, elite. I don't like to use that word when it comes to Torah, but like only the most dedicated, let's say that, I don't like the word elite, only the most dedicated could be allowed into the base medrash. Right. So if the great rabbis had this perspective, then obviously they didn't have the kind of Torah that Rabbi Akiva had. Rabbi Akiva's perspective was everyone should be able to have access to it, which is why he had 24,000. So he must have thought of it in terms of sort of like Rabbi Noach Weinberg's Zitzah, because he also thought, how can I make Torah as accessible as possible so people really learn it?
That's an interesting question, but that wasn't the question. That was that was whatever Rabbi Akiva was doing. He was, and whatever the argument was, everyone was in awe about when Rabbi Hawkins, when he meets him, he says to him, "Are you the famous Rabbi Akiva?" The Gemara tells this. That is known from one end of Israel to the other end of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So they were in esteem of him, of what he was able to achieve. And not
that's what I'm asking. Is it because? Sorry.
What's that?
Is it because he was trying to make the Torah so accessible that lots of people could reach it? Is that the reason why he had such esteem?
No.
Okay, I digressed in that case. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So he comes back after 24 years. He's got 24,000 students.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It doesn't seem like that was a bad thing. That people are upset with him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It seems more like no one else could repeat what he did. It says when the students died, in the Omer, right? This is like a light went off in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
It was staggering. I mean, in Israel at the moment, Rahmanas of the Almighty should help us, that you have these soldiers that die. It's not uncommon. My neighbors, his cousin, you understand? This is, you're talking about 500 people, max, 600 people, right? This is 24,000 students. Mind-boggling. Right? They all died.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everybody knew somebody. Right? You can't imagine what it was like. So and then he started off again with 5.
Mm-hmm.
You said, but no one else had any students?
They did, but not as much as he did.
Okay, so he started off with 5. No one else had 5 students? No one had anyone?
Yeah, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5.
One thing is, there's hundreds of Talmudei Chachamim scattered throughout the land of Israel. None of them, there were people greater than him. None of them had students. Of course they had students.
Now makes me wonder.
Students?
So now I wonder, what do you mean by greater than him? What does that mean? If he was so esteemed, how could they have been greater than him?
They knew more Torah.
They knew more Torah. Okay, that's what you mean when you say they were greater than him. But then, so what was the reason for the great esteem that they had for him? It was because he had that many students?
I forget the year, in the 1930s, right? Sarah Schneer had 40,000 students.
Wow. That I didn't know. I knew she had a lot of students, but I didn't know the number.
Right, 40. I think it was either 40,000 or 30,000. I forget the exact number, but she had more students than all the yeshivas combined.
That's amazing. She really achieved something. It's really because of her that we still survive, probably.
100%. 100%. There's a famous rabbi. He stands up in the. Rav Noah always used to tell the story. He stands up in one of these chasanas or conventions or something in Israel. I mean, it was America. I don't remember. And he stands up and he says, everybody here. It was all the who's who of the Torah world. So he says, everybody here thinks that it's their Zaidi who saved Torah Judaism. Right? He says, I'm here to tell you it was none of you. So that's kind of fighting words, you know.
Yep.
So he says, not only that, but the person who did save Torah Judaism, right, couldn't even lane a Daf Gemara.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like apocosis, you know.
Mm-hmm.
People are getting really upset. He says, not only that, when I tell you who it was, you're all going to agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's funny. Like, we're all going to agree. That's ridiculous. Right? He said, Sarah Schneer.
And do people agree?
Yeah, obviously.
Right.
Right? She said, so you see, it's not how much Torah you can know everything. You just you miss it. So anyway, so Rabbi Akiva, he comes back with 24,000 students, and he meets his father-in-law, Elba Savua. He doesn't realize it's him.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to be Mata Neder for what he told against his daughter, that he wouldn't give her any support her.
Mm-hmm.
So he sits down with Rabbi Akiva, not realizing it's Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva says to him, because he recognizes that he's the Gadol Hador, he says to him, well, he's one of the greats. So he says to him, Rabbi Akiva says to him, if you'd known your son-in-law would have been a Talmud Chacham, would you have made the vow?
Mm-hmm.
And Kabbalah Savur says, a Talmud Chacham, I wouldn't have made the vow if he'd known one halacha. Now, do you know anybody who doesn't know one halacha?
I'm not sure that I don't. Actually, I don't know, actually.
Right. It's very hard to find somebody. I don't think I know anybody. How can you not know one halacha?
Because even the most secular amongst us knows something.
I'm not talking about secular people. He was from,
Right.
but he couldn't remember one halacha.
Wait, are you saying that Rabbi Akiva, before he married Kabbalah Savua's daughter Rachel, that he was from but didn't remember a single halacha?
That's right.
Huh.
Mind-boggling.
Wait, how can you be from and not remember a single halacha? Like,
Exactly.
I'm so confused now.
So you see, what was Rabbi Akiva's bumper sticker? What was the bumper sticker on the back of his car?
Before or after?
After.
After, it was probably the drops that affected the rock.
That's true, but what was the bumper sticker? The bumper sticker was everything the Almighty does is for the good. Life doesn't get any better than this. How can he say such a thing with such a poor memory? So you see, not being able to remember something, right, is not a disadvantage. It's a tremendous advantage when it comes to learning Torah. Because you can think, just like being rich, you can think that if you remember what you learned, that you learned it.
If you can remember what you learned, then you think that you learned it.
If you can remember what you read, that you learned it because you can remember it.
Oh, so remembering it does not necessarily mean you learned it.
Right. That's what he realized. That's what Rabbi Akiva. He was a shepherd. Did he remember the sheep? Did he remember how the sheep shepherd the sheep? For sure he did.
Right.
He could remember things. He couldn't remember things that didn't mean anything.
That's the reason why he forgot it.
That's why he forgot it.
So how did he get it to mean something to him so that he no longer forgot it?
So you see, that's what he says. That's what he says. That's what the Gemara means. It says there are three things you have to teach your children: a trade, swim, and Torah. Torah, swim, and trade, right? So when you learn how to swim, you don't have to renew and keep remembering, you say go back over again. Once you learn how to swim, that's it. How come, even though very few people ever need to know how to swim, how come you can remember how to swim, but you can't remember what you read? Which is more important? Which is more useful? Torah or swim?
Well, if you're on a ship going down, for sure swimming, but that happens very rarely. So for sure Torah.
Right. Even until, I think up until the Second World War, members of the United States Navy did not need to know how to swim.
That's a shocker.
Yeah, because the boats never went down. That's why.
Now they do.
Now they do, right? But then they didn't need to, right? So why? How come when you learn how to swim, it goes in and you never forget? How come you learn read your telephone number, you never need to forget? You never forget your social security number, tying shoelaces, a trade.
Well, two things. One is you do it many times, and two, it's so important to you that you put the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the intensity of your focus is on it, and your desire to learn it is there.
That's exactly right. So when it's not repeating it over and over again. It's the attitude you have when you learn these things, that you have to know these things.
So you mean the intensity of your focus that your desire creates?
That's right, and it puts it in your part of your brain that you will never forget it.
So then you're saying that the first and most important thing is your desire to know it.
Your attitude, I would say, I don't think we're disagreeing, but I would call it attitude, right?
Okay, attitude. So the most important thing is your attitude towards whatever you're learning.
Right.
So if you think this is the most important thing, then you're going to learn it. If you think if you thought your life was dependent on that learning, then you would learn it.
You would really learn it, right? It would not forget it.
Because your life depended on it.
That's right.
So this is what the Yetzer Hara does to us. It makes us think that our life does not depend on it. It confuses us. Mibalbel.
That's right. That's right. That's what it says. It says when after Moshe died, Yeshua forgot 300 halachas, and the Jewish people wanted to kill him.
Wanted to kill Yehoshua? Well, did he forget before or after they wanted to kill him? I would think if somebody wants to kill you, you're like, I can't remember.
Right. Why did they want to kill him?
They wanted to kill him because he forgot.
Yeah. Why did they want to kill him?
Because their lives depended on those halachot.
Right.
And didn't Kalev's daughter's husband, remember? What was his name?
Yeah, they figured they relearned it, right? But the point is, I'm bringing you like when they really had the attitude that our lives depend upon it. It's like you're on a spaceship and you need to program the computer and you forgot your PIN number.
I kid you not, I forgot the password, even though I'm like, how could it be? I thought it's this I forgot the password for the iPad and we're permanently locked now.
Right.
That's why we're on our phone.
Right. No, there were people who bought Bitcoin as a bit of a joke, and now it's worth millions of dollars, and they can't remember the password.
That's
Seriously,
painful.
it's painful. They know what it's worth. They know what you find. They can't remember the passcode, and they're locked down, and they're stuck. It's mind-boggling, right? So you see, when your life depends on it, you remember it. When you learn how to swim, your attitude is, my life depends on it. Right now, it doesn't. But that's how you think about it.
Although when you're riding a bicycle, you don't think your life depends on it. You think more in terms of like enjoyment, like you really want to do it. You want to be able to master it.
Right, but your attitude is that I have to learn it. It's not something.
I have to because I want to desperately.
That's true. But
I mean, I would imagine that's an easier way to learn than my life depends on it.
yeah, right. But we have, so they might have constructed our brains in such a way that we can. There are some things that are like reflex actions that is the knowledge is built into the system. A baby knows how to suck and eat. You don't have to teach it. Right, and then there's other things that we have to ingrain into us. You might create our brains so we can learn new things that become second nature, like tying our shoes, like swimming, like riding a bicycle. There's a great video called the back. Smarter every day, and they engineered a bicycle so that when you turn the handlebars to the right, the bike goes to the left. So he said he practiced for 8 months every day for a few minutes to learn how to ride this bicycle because he couldn't do it. He said, but the problem was that he couldn't ride a regular bicycle anymore.
Because he rewired his brain now with the fake one.
That's right. That's what the midrash means. That if you forget what you learn, it's worse than not learning it at all. How do you forget? You have to go in and actively undo that Torah.
How do you do that though? What's the point of that kind of insanity?
Insanity. Yeah, and so he just gives an example of the guy who tears down the orchard. Like, you've got to be crazy. Why do you do such a thing?
Like, I really can't imagine anybody doing that unless they're like in a rage.
Well, they hate God. They hate, there's all kinds of nutty things going out there.
Even if you don't understand, like if you're gonna hit, like if God has done something that you disagree with, why not just have it out with him?
Yes, I'm with you, but there are people who just they're crazy.
It seems so counterproductive. Like, what are you achieving by hating God?
Yeah.
Like, at least,
Right.
Get it off your chest. God, I really don't appreciate what you did here. I really don't appreciate it. I feel like you don't love me. I think you need to change some stuff here so I feel your love. Like, I'm not feeling it. Like, right. That, at least that goes somewhere.
That's very healthy, but people, Einstein was famously quoted as saying there were two things that were infinite: man's stupidity and the universe. And I'm not sure about the universe.
I don't know. I'd like to have a little bit of hope for humanity. I'd like to say instead that, like, insanity is really like a symptom of like not knowing any better and being habitualized. I don't know what's the habituated. Habituated to insanity. I mean, like, well, think about it. We watch movies that like mess up our way of thinking, and we think that's enjoyment. Like, I don't think we even appreciate it. The first time I watched like a scary movie, it was like heart stopping. I was a little kid. I still remember, like, I thought it was real, and I was like in the middle of like this trauma fest. And I couldn't understand the point of it.
Right.
So, like, we habituated ourselves to that so that we think something that's not real is scary and our lives depend on it, but real life to us has become unreal. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't know that that's necessarily like suppose we didn't have that. Like suppose we didn't have this crazy thing called TV. Wouldn't more people be more sane?
No.
Really? How do you figure?
The reason for TV is that it set a standard, sometimes an unhealthy one, of how a human being should be. It gave us something to launch from. If not for TV, people would be localized, and insanity would be more tolerated. Yeah.
Hey, whoa,
That's what this is, but that's my assessment of it.
I'm gonna have to ask you about that another time so we don't digress, because that was wow.
Okay, let's get back. So the Torah says there are 3 ways that the Torah was given: in fire, in water, and in the desert, the BAMIDBAR.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing, you know, is when you're learning how to swim. Why are you learning it? Because you want to learn how to swim.
Right.
It's the attitude you have that this is exciting, it's fun, except whatever it happens to be, right? That attitude, thinking like that, is the technique that makes it permanent.
Oh, so are these 3 different types of techniques? Like fire is warmth, and water is like being able to drink and survive,
Right.
and Bamidbar is like feeling the lack? Is that what that is?
That's it. So there's many different interpretations or commentaries on what these 3 things mean. The Midrash just says these 3 things, and it leaves it to you to figure out. But I would say, yeah,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Does this somehow, like, in any way, like, connect to the Chaim Bracha Tov concepts?
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Because you could think of fire as like a Tov, because they're very passionate, and like their rage can be like a fire. I can speak from experience. and then Chaim could be like water, right? Like the water is like considered Torah, right? Like it's like wisdom. And then Bamidbar could be like bracha, like a bracha without like, you know, seeing like all the physical things that they need that you cannot find in a desert.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the best I could do.
No, that's very nice. That's very nice. I was going to say something similar, but I like what you said. I said, what's that?
What were you going to say?
Fire. When you see when you're sitting and learning, it's important to appreciate that there's more thought going into the pasuk you're learning. There's more thought going into the word you're learning than if you took all the biggest geniuses of history and put their intelligence into one person. Could not come up with a pasuk in the Torah.
That's fire.
So you see, so what the problem with learning is that it says that Rabbi Akiva, he will sit and learn. And everybody who would teach him, he would ask them, but what about this? And in this scenario, and if Talmud expresses it like this, he would grind them down so they had nothing left to say.
Oh, sort of like the way you take wheat and grind it down. There's no wheat left to grind.
Right. So you see, the problem with us and the problem with learning is we give up too easily. We read something and go, okay, it makes sense. I get it. I understand. We'll move on. We should learn until the point where we get to the fire. It should be so exciting, so energizing. Fire is energy. That you go, my goodness, and you say you're jumping up and down. If you haven't uncovered the hidden secret in the pasuk and what you're learning, then you didn't learn it. You didn't get there.
It has to be inflaming. It's like it creates a certain emotion in you.
Right. In other words, everybody's got problems, present company not included. So imagine for a minute you're reading something and you realize the solution to all your problems.
Uh-huh.
Could you forget that?
Yeah, the solution to all. No, you wouldn't forget that.
Oh, it would be, oh my goodness. Is that, that's next week's winning lottery numbers. Oh my goodness.
Right, you'd figure out a way to remember that, unless you had some sort of medical problem, right? All these examples exclude medical issues.
Right. But it says that Rabbi Akiva couldn't learn a single halacha. So even with his issues, it wasn't stopping him. It was, you don't forget how, I always like to say, don't forget how you jump out of an airplane. When you do skydiving, you don't forget such things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you have an experience that is mind-boggling, exciting, that's fire.
Mm-hmm.
What's water? So water is an interesting thing. You don't say a bracha on water unless you're thirsty. You have an orange, you've got to say ha'etz. You have a cucumber, you've got to say ha'adamah. You have a candy, you've got to say sha'kol. You don't say a bracha on water. If you're having a pill, and you're putting water with it to swallow the pill, you don't say a bracha because you're not drinking. There's no taste. Water has no taste. So
then I've been doing it wrong because I make the bracha, then I take the pill.
So you only make a bracha on water if you're actually thirsty. So that's Torah. Are you thirsty? What are you missing in your life that you need the Torah to solve? Is the solution to all your problems is right here. Where are you going to look for your solutions? Are you thirsty?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you should be learning. I'm thirsty.
Okay.
And the last one is the desert. When you're in the desert is peace. It's like the bracha. You're at peace. There's no distractions. You ever been out in the desert? It's wonderful. Peaceful. There's no one bothering you. There's no cars. There's no nothing. When you sit down and learn, you've got to be at peace. So you can connect with what it's saying.
That's so interesting. It's not just be at peace. You sort of have to empty yourself of everything else so that you have now a kli, a vessel in which to hold all the stuff you're about to learn.
That's right. Exactly. So get rid of the noise. When you get to that point, the Torah is coming. You should read it. It will hit you.
So that's the reason why when they were in the Bamidbar and Hashem had all the clouds of glory, etc., and they didn't have to worry about washing clothes, food, etc., they were literally at peace, and so therefore everything came more easily to them. That's
right. They could connect with the Torah.
Wow. So are you saying that a person would connect to any one of these or specifically to one depending on their personality?
That's a very good question. I don't know. The Torah says that the Midrash says that it's all three. The Torah was given in all three. So I guess that sometimes it's going to be one more than another.
Or maybe there's certain things that for you personally, you have to be at peace at in order to absorb. Other things for you to be able to absorb, you need to be inflamed. And more other things, you have to be thirsting for it in order to be able to absorb and hold.
Yeah.
That makes sense, actually. I think it makes sense. But it depends on what you need it for.
But as you acquire each one of these, they become integrated. You don't apply one over another. You adopt them as the attitude, so you can have all three at the same time.
You can have all three at the same time when you're learning a specific topic, you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so let me understand this because this is very, very deep. The fire is inflaming. So how do you get yourself in that state?
Because you're going to read something that is going to blow you away. It's going to turn your whole world upside down.
Do you have to like prepare yourself and believing that? Do you have to say sort of like, you know what, this is going to be unbelievably, like it's going to hit me in my emotions?
It's right. I'm going to meet God, and He's going to tell me everything I need to know.
Oh, there's a certain depth of emotion, that depth of connection to God.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that mindset. And what is the thirsty mindset? The thirsty mindset is I'm thirsty. I don't have something. I'm dry. Oh, that's what it is. I'm dry. I'm dry. I need this in order to be. It's sort of like a poor little planting that has not enough water to grow.
That's right. Exactly. Nothing else is going to solve my problems.
I'm a dry sapling and I need this water. I need this information in order to be successful, to grow and to flourish. Okay, that's the mindset number 2. Mindset number 3, I don't really relate to. I'm very sorry. Help me understand number 3.
Stop the noise. All the chatter. This guy doesn't like me. My kids are driving me crazy. My neighbor's this.
How do you do that as a mother? It's like you can't even fall asleep. I have to do this. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I need to worry about this. How do you do that? I guess you have to pretend that you're in the desert. You have to pretend, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm now transporting myself to the desert. My kids don't exist. My spouse doesn't exist. My friends, my house does not exist. All the things that I need to take care of do not exist.
That's
and
right.
That's exactly what it is in BAMIDBAR. Although in BAMIDBAR, you have like scorpions and you have like the scorching heat. You see that I'm really like getting into it now, Rabbi. So really, is BAMIDBAR really peace? Couldn't they come up with something else?
What do you mean something else?
I don't know. Like I would have preferred being at the ocean. That's more peaceful to me than the BAMIDBAR. BAMIDBAR, I'm worrying about the scorpions, the cactus, not having enough water.
Right. They use the midbar because I'll express that the midbar means that it's the reason why there's nothing there is because there's nothing there. The reason no one's there is because there's nothing there to be.
Yeah, I guess the ocean one is not gonna not fit that. Okay, I'm gonna have to work that out of my own mind.
Okay, very good. So I just I really wanted to get to one more point before we go, and that is that in this week's parsha we're naming it's numbering the Jewish people, but it says from 20 years old, except for of Levi that's counted from 1 month and really is counted from birth. Right. So Rabbi Chaim Willis, he explains that 20, but the Nach is from 20. Why it comes from 20? Because 20 is the age to take responsibility for other people. You decide your role in the world. In the secular world, it's like you figure out your career. What are you going to do that's going to make a difference? And when you do that, you get counted. In other words, the society or the country or the world, it's just a culmination of all the people who are doing anything. The people sitting on a couch watching old reruns of I Love Lucy, they don't add anything to society. So why Levi? Because Levi is the tribe that does whatever needs to be done. So someone who does whatever needs to be done, they're always necessary. That's called a mother. Right? So you willing to do whatever needs to be done.
That's right. Changing diapers in the middle of the night.
Right. That's because the most meaningful feeling you can possibly ever have in life is to feel needed. You see, we have a mitzvah in the Torah to be like God. How do you be like God?
I'm guessing this way, by being needed, because everybody needs God.
That's right.
Even if they don't admit it.
That's right. Right? That's being like God, be needed. There's 2 ways to be needed. One is be an accountant, right? But that takes, I got to know that I'll be an accountant, I've got to be really good at it, I've got to find clients. In other words, we need to do whatever needs to be done. Now, the Rambam writes at the end of Hilchos Shemitah V'Yovel, an incredible thing. I'm going to print it. I'm going to put it on the chat. You have to see this. Let me copy. There you go. Can you see it?
Yeah. Okay, what does it all mean? V'lo shevet Levi bilavad ela kol ish v'ish mikol ba'ei ha'olam asher nida. What does it all mean? I see. Only try to put any of the hands rose for spirit generously and revolting. In sense of business, for God to serve him and minister to him and know God. Christine just got him from the neck of the dominion recognized with people seek he sanctifies holy as God will be his portion heritage forever and will provide what is sufficient for him in this world like he provides. Wow.
Exactly. That's a well. So let me read it. V'lo shevet Levi bilvad, ela kol ish v'ish, v'kol be'ei olam, but every single person from the world, which implies even non-Jews. Amazing. Asher nidava rucho, he dedicates his neshama, his soul, but his soul is dedicated. B'havinu Mada, and he understands lahavdil, to separate himself, and la'amod lifnei Hashem, to stand before God, and l'shato, and to serve Him, and lavdon, and to serve Him. I don't know how does he translate this to different things. Minister to Him, serve Him, and to minister to Him. And Ladas is Hashem, to know God, but Lech Yashar, and to go straight like He was made. That we're all made straight. To go straight, to be honest and sincere and truthful. Like God made him. The Parek Ma'alah Savarah, and to cast off from the yoke from his neck, all the many calculations which people calculate, all the, you're gonna get a career and you have to do this and you have to do that if you want to succeed, all these games that people play. This person, Nitkadesh, Kadosh Kadoshim, he's going to be holy of sanctified as the holy of holies. Right? Hashem Halkon, Hashem will be his portion. V'nachloton, and his heritage. Lo'olam, forever, forever and ever. V'yaskal lo olam hazeh, you merit in this world, Devar hasik lo k'mo. Oh, it's cut off a bit. Sorry. Let's take a look. Let me put. Sorry. Shezachar lo ba'olam hazeh. I have to read from the Hebrew. So it seems to be cutting it off.
No problem.
Yeshua Kamasha says, Beam, Asher Bakshu B'nei Hooray said Nikash Kadosh Hashem, V'yi Hashem HaKol, Hashem will be his portion, V'nachloto, and his inheritance, La'olam L'omelamim, forever and ever, V'yiskal Lord Olam Hazeh, Devah Hiziklo, and he will merit in this world what the Almighty sets for him, Shezachalakum, just like he merits to the Kohanim and the Levites. Hooray, David, our son, man. As King David said, Hashem manat chalki, Hashem is my portion. Kosi, my cup. you support provide my assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In other words, you can't become a Kohen and Levi, the old joke, you can't become a Kohen and Levi. But if you dedicate your life to do whatever needs to be done in this world, you achieve that level of Kedusha like the Kohen and Levi. Mind-boggling.
Can you do that with just one act, or does it have to be consistent?
You can do it with anything, but the more you do it with everything in your life, I'm sure it's not. You don't achieve this in one fell swoop. Things of great meaning do not. That's the famous mitzvah at the end of the Parsha Yisro, is that for the Mizbeach you need a ramp, but for the menorah you need stairs. There's not stairs, a ladder. I'm sorry, not stairs, right? So it says, why can't you have? The Torah gives the reason why you have to have a ramp. Unusual move. This is because if you don't have a ramp, you reveal your nakedness. Forget exactly the language it uses, but you reveal your nakedness. So Chava, when she was a little girl, asked me the question: how come for the ramp you have to have for the mizbech you have to have a ramp, but for the menorah you don't?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it took me 30 years to find the answer for her. Because the altar, the mizbeach, is our mission in life, our purpose. The menorah is learning, is insight. In insight, you can make big strides in understanding about life.
Mm-hmm.
But in your growth as a person, your mizbeach, your altar, you need a ramp. You need to take very small steps. Because if you take big steps, you reveal your nakedness, your weakness. What part of the anatomy will you be revealing?
I remember this one, your heel, which the snake comes after.
That's right. That's right. So
But now I understand this a little bit better since the last time we learned it, because it's to me it seems like it's saying that the mizbeach is there for sacrifices, right? Like, so what do you really sacrifice? You're sacrificing a piece of your ego, a piece of a bad midah, and when you attempt to like take a big chunk to go after a big thing, it never really works. You have to like chip at it. You have to chip at it. You have to go after a small weakness and a small one. If you try to go after a big one, it doesn't work.
That's right. But small is not the operative word here. It's easy.
Easy, because a ramp is easy to go up.
That's right. That's what the Rambam is saying. This is not the Rambam. That's what the Rashi is saying. But the eyes of the ends of the earth. Right? The wise person makes it easy. If it isn't easy, you're doing it wrong.
But I imagine that anytime you're trying to sacrifice some part of yourself that isn't pleasant, let's call it negative, that in itself is not an easy endeavor.
No, it is easy. It's a process. You go up the ramp, it's easy. When you look back after you've achieved this height, how did I get here? But it's easy, for one small step at a time. You look at your life now, and if you can remember back when you were 20 years ago, let's say, you've made incredible strides. How did you get here? Each step along the way was easy.
No, it wasn't. It was painful, sometimes brutally painful.
So that's what Chazal say, Lefum Sara Agua. So you can make small steps that are easy but not go anywhere.
Now you're just confusing me.
The Lefum Sara Agua, according to the pain is the reward.
But if it's painful, that's not easy.
So what they're telling you is just having pain is not meaningful. You take a nail and stick it in your hand. That's painful, but there's no agra, there's no reward.
Because it's not meaningful.
It's not meaningful. Alternatively, right, you do something that's very easy but not meaningful. You go out into the backyard and wave your hands in the air, wave a flag. I'm waving a flag for freedom. It's
That's easy.
It's easy, but it's not meaningful. It's not going anywhere, right? Raising children, right, is there's saw in it.
Right, that's not easy.
It's easy, but it's painful.
How is it easy? I did not find it easy at all. I'm so sorry.
We're mixing up easy.
You need to redefine words again.
Yeah. So it's imminently doable, right? But there's a saw along the way. In other words, take care of somebody else's kids that have the same saw, same pain. You're not going to do it. It's not.
That's true.
It's not possible. You're not going to do it.
That's true.
So the fact that you can do it with your own child is because it's easy. It's the same.
Okay.
The same as running a marathon.
Yeah, can we not use the word easy? I preferred your doable word. That one works for me better. Easy has so many connotations that it totally messes with the wisdom you're trying to relate to us.
No, I understand. I hear you. I don't think there is an English word. That's why we're stuck here. But
I like your doable. Doable makes more sense to me. Yes, it's doable for me to figure out how to deal with this child and then this child, despite the fact that they're so different. And you thought, oh, hey, it works for this kid. Why shouldn't it work for that one?
Exactly.
It is doable because, in a way, you give yourself no other option. If you care enough, then you put the time, energy, resources, etc., to figure it out because it's that important to you. Right. So it's doable. But the moment that you don't care, it's not doable because you don't think you can anyway.
That's right. Very good.
Okay, I think I now understand a little bit. So going up the Mizbeach is something that's doable, that's meaningful, and you do it in small steps because it's doable.
Right.
It's your step, and that's why it's doable. It's yours.
That's right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your patience with all my questions as I grind.
It's my pleasure. Totally.
All right, thank you so much. The same to you. Enjoy the learning.
Thank
literally
you.
and figuratively.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Good night.
Bye. Good night.